So, but I will first maybe set the rules of this, let's say, framework. So I call it the ARC storytelling framework. So I did not invent, let's say, the three rules, but I tried to make it in an acronym, let's say, because I work at Airbus and aerospace industry, we like abbreviation and acronyms everywhere, you know. So it's really, you can see it, if you say storytelling, you have a character and you can see it as a character arc, if you want to remember it, ARC. So the rule is very simple. If we start with a story, we set the stage with the story, with the character and of the story, and that character has an objective, and you and me, we play a very simple, let's say, game. So I will start with setting the stage, and I will ask you to advance the story. Advance meaning that you have to move the story forward. The character have to move forward, etc. Maybe then you will ask me, okay, Ahmadou, I want you to color the story. Coloring the story is to describe more, let's say, the place or an object or the feeling of the character. And then after, once we go back and forth between advance, color, at some point, either you or me can say, okay, recall. Recall meaning that I really have to listen. This is something very important, active listening, because at some point you will tell me, okay, Ahmadou, recall. I will say, okay, this happened, let's say, three steps before. I have to use that to advance the story. So it's very simple. We have a story at the beginning. We have three rules. It's like you have a jar, you put advance, recall, and color, and each time you pick a paper, we have to play that rule. I don't know if I'm clear. It's a little bit messy, maybe.
No, I think it's absolutely great. And just for everybody on the stream, Ahmadou and I did a practice run about 2 weeks ago, and I think we had a lot of fun with the story.
Yeah.
We did not decide on what this was going to be about before coming into this. This is raw and unadulterated, so we can fall on our faces here and see what happens. But let's have some fun with it. If you've just joined the stream, we're going to do a little bit of an improv exercise, then talk a little bit about relating it back to community building. But because this is interactive and you're on the chat, we want you to participate as well. So if you have a direction you'd like us to go, or you've got an idea for something, shout it out in the chat, and we will try to incorporate it into the storytelling approach that we're doing here.
Exactly. So maybe at some point, instead of using advanced color or recall, you can ask someone in the chat to say, okay, what should we do? Should we do advanced color or recall? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'm so terrified.
There is nothing to be terrified. I will start because as I'm the guest, I will give you a character and that has an objective. And then after, I will say to you, okay, now you have to advance the story. So as you said, this is not something that we have staged. I will do a different story that we did last time. And anyway, we see life. So basically, the setting is this. It's a bee, like honeybee, who is blind and who wants to find honey for his mother.
Oh.
Okay.
This sweet dear bee. Got it. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So now I will ask you, okay, advance the story. Todd, please.
Yeah. So one day, Buzz the honeybee decided to fly out into the meadow to collect some pollen for his ailing mother back at the hive. And so he flew across the fields. But because he couldn't see anything, he had to be very careful because, there are all kinds of traps and dangers for a honeybee, even one that can see. There are spiders living in flowers. There are spider webs all over the place. There are other kinds of, things like humans out there. And poor Buzz was already at a disadvantage flying out into the field and kind of buzzing his way around. But soon he detected the scent of flowers nearby, and he proceeded. Ahmadou, give me color about sort of what it is for a blind bee to smell and see these flowers.
Okay, so Buzz settled down in a space full of flowers. as he cannot see, he has a very developed sense of touch and smell, and then all around him he's walking around trying to touch different flowers. There are some and then he will go very gently, he will smell the flowers, and he was looking for a very particular flavor because he knows that his mother loved that flavor of flower, and he's turning around and touching and smelling, and suddenly someone bumped into him. So advance.
Uh-oh, that's not a flower. Buzz immediately backs off and buzzes his wings as if he's going to take off. And then he hears, "Oh, please don't go. Please don't go. I need help." At this, Buzz paused and continued to sort of sniff around and felt. And soon, as he reached out to see who it was that was there, he felt antennas. And I mean, how about can you recall something from earlier in the story that would remind him of these antennas?
Okay, so you're asking me to recall in the story. So he touches the antennas, and it was the antennas of his robotic friend who is a bee who has some antennas, because as he is blind, his parents brought him a robot, like kind of a honeybee who can speak, and then he touches the antenna and he recognizes his pal called I don't know. I will say Charlie, let's say. Okay.
Charlie,
So
excellent, love it.
yeah. So Charlie is a robotic bee who is like a kind of the helping hand of Buzz, and Charlie then said, "Ah, you are here. I have been waiting for you for so long. You are here for your weekly harvest of honey for your mom, I guess." And then Buzz said, "Yes, I'm here for that, but today I really want some special honey for my mother, because it's her 90th birthday, and I want her to have a very vivid experience." And then Charlie say, "Okay, that's great. I have been harvesting very special honey the last 2 weeks. I will be happy to share it with you. So I will tell you advance, Todd."
Okay, so if I recall this right, you said that Charlie knows about this honey, this special honey.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
that Buzz's mother needs, and
Yeah.
so taking taking well, do bees have hands? Taking Charlie
Yeah.
by the antenna, I guess.
Yes, yes.
They fly off together across the field, avoiding a bird that tried to dive in and grab them, and flying around a spider web that would have surely got Buzz if he hadn't been with Charlie. And finally they arrive at this incredible, amazing flower.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to give me color for this flower. Tell me all about this flower and why it's so special.
So they arrive at that flower, and the moment that they like settle down, and like then Buzz started crying because he recognized the smell of him being a baby, and her mother giving him let's say honey from that very specific flower. It's a very yellowish flower with a very very specific, let's say, smell, and it's very, it has a very special touch that, and then Buzz just put his hand onto the flower and he started crying because he may remember back when he was young and having all those memories, spending time with his mother. He said, "Ah, finally, I got it, mom, for you. I have been waiting for this for 90 years to harvest this special honey for you." Then he take a very special jar in which he has written his mother's name and his age, 90 years old. He take a big cup of that fountain of honey. He take it back, and then he start flying back home with his friend Charlie guiding him through the forest. Now advance.
But before he could take off to fly, By the way, that counted as a recall too, because you were
Yeah.
remembering the mother. Before he could take off to fly, he heard this voice from behind the pedals saying, "Hey, Bub, that's my flower. You can't take my pollen away." At this, the two bees, Charlie and Buzz, took off at full speed back for the hive, heading back. And they were pursued by this large, ugly looking hoverfly that looked something like a bee, but had sort of like these gangly antennas, and he looked like a fly. So he had like these big fly eyes and sort of that strange tongue that kind of darts out, and he started flying after Buzz and Charlie all the way back to the hive. Just as they arrived at the hive, advance the story.
Just as they arrived at the hive, Charlie just took his phone and dialed an emergency call, because it's not the first time that they have been chased by this beast. And the emergency call, it's like they called all the soldiers in the hive who were ready to rescue them, and bam, a very big, let's say, army of, let's say, bee soldiers come to their rescue, and then, let's say, accompany them safely to the hive, where they started already celebrating his mother's 90th birthday. And then I will say, advance and finish the story.
Excellent.
Todd.
Yes, the soldier bees come out after the hover bee. They're flying their buzz bombers at him. These are like bees in little bombers, and they're coming out and going, getting at the hover bee. The hover bee is shocked by this onslaught of bee show of force, and he turns tail and flies off into the hills and is never seen again. At this, Charlie and Buzz land in the hive, and his mother is waiting there for him, and he's able to give her the honey that cures her and makes her well once again. As the camera pans away from the scene, we see this little hive, fading away into the distance, in this beautiful farmer's field, out to the landscape beyond and out into the universe. And it's a beautiful day on planet Earth. The end.
Bravo. I mean, this is a story that will never be written again in the history of the universe. I don't know if you like it. You can hit the like button, or send us some hearts or whatever feels right for you. How did you find this exercise, Todd?
It was great. So there's always a little bit of that fear factor of just creating, but knowing that you're co-creating with somebody else that's accepting of whatever you're going to put out there is so nice. And I mean, I think that's something that goes back to us as children. I mean, you're playing a let's pretend game, and when you have that psychological safety of knowing that the person is just going to build on what you created, it really does open the floodgates of creativity and kind of helps people feel connected to the scene. So I really enjoyed it. It was fun. Of course, I love storytelling games and improvisation around a table with others. That's part of my world as well. So it can maybe seem a little scary to somebody that hasn't tried it before. So I think if you try it with somebody with whom you feel safe, that's a great way to try to practice and grow that muscle over time.
Exactly. And I think maybe people will ask, okay, that is a great framework, or how should I use it? I think I will just give two examples where you can use it. For example, let's say we are all going back physical in our communities, in our offices. This can be a very great icebreaker where you can have people around you explain the rules and they try to build the stories together. Or you can use it even when you are alone. Let's say you can just take a jar and you just to exercise your storytelling muscle and to let go. Let's say you just put some papers in a jar, advanced recall color. You put more advanced and color than recall, and you try to, maybe before writing your newsletter on the Sunday, you just let's say do this small exercise to open your chakra. And then after you start writing your weekly newsletter, or you start sending that email to your community members. I'm just giving two examples, but there are more examples where you can use this technique really to tell stories and to connect with other people.
those are really great. And I'll add something that I really like about advanced recall and color.
Yeah,
That I think sort of like having to switch between the three is
yeah,
so useful, because if you think about like advanced, yes, we're trying to advance the plot, we're telling the story. That's the mechanical forward movement of any kind of story you're telling. But
yeah.
color is incredibly important because that grounds people in details,
Hmm.
and it's sight, sound, smell, feel, all of the senses being engaged. And the more that you can be evocative of,
Yeah,
of that, even emotion,
yeah,
gives texture to the story, and it makes it powerful. And
mm,
and having recall as a part of that framework is also incredibly useful, because it forces the storytellers to go back to the details of the story and develop it a little bit more, give something that
yeah,
has, that connects the narrative together. And so it's sort of like the glue that holds things together, in the
exactly.
conversation as well. So I really love this as a framework. I think it works really nicely.
Yeah, I thank you, Ted. Todd, sorry. And if you have some suggestion on how did you feel about our story, how will you rate it in Rotten Tomatoes? I don't know. Just give us a score here. We will be happy. Feel free to share.
Somebody wanted to give us a movie deal in there. Yeah, Nicola.
Okay, thank you, Nicola. I think we are ready for
It
that.
could be a Pixar film. I think it could work that way. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and I love that. Charlie with the phone. Carolyn loved that. Nicholas said, I'll put this one up on the screen. I like this a lot. I make up stories for my kids most nights, and it's one of the best bits of my day. I could
yeah,
definitely see that. Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And to add to that story, like 2 years ago, so I said that I have two kids, one 4 years old and the other one 2 years old. For the 4 year, one day he was not able to sleep, and I told him, okay, let's call the sleep guy or whatever his name is. So I started doing it like 2 years ago, and up until today, each evening before he go to sleep, I have to go to his bed and say, okay, let's call together sleep so that he can come so that you can sleep. So having this kind of framework really helping me, like I said, Nicholas, every day to come up with some ideas on where is sleep, what is he doing, how should, let's say, I always ask my son Noah to say, okay, you have to fetch him, so you have to tell me which vehicle you will use to fetch him. So this is really something also that you can use in your private life, as said by Nicholas. So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely wonderful. And I think too, this is just, as I try to apply or think about and apply this to online communities. There's
Yeah,
a lot of different ways. It's not just like in a discussion forum. I think an exercise that like this within the right kind of online community could be a really fun, creative thing for people in this space to do.
yeah,
Especially for people maybe looking for a distraction, or they want a creative outlet or something like that. Having a discussion thread or a
yeah,
channel in your
yeah.
community to just do collaborative storytelling is a lot
Mm,
of fun. I've had some experience doing that with some past online games that I've been involved with, where people would carry on and do some fan fiction basically in the discussion forums themselves,
yeah,
which was great fun. But I think also exercises like this are really useful, because as we're thinking about the people that a community is designed for, uh,
yeah,
a lot of times we'll put together like a persona or personas
yeah.
for the people in
Hmm.
that community. And that's nice and it's good. But I think it's even more powerful to start to build some stories around those
Yeah,
personas, and to be able
exactly.
to improvise stories that are reflective of a certain persona or person that would
Yeah,
be involved in your community. That's also then talking a little bit about journey,
yeah,
and
exactly.
and helping you to understand how you would map that person's journey through your community experience as well. So, anyways, uh,
Exactly.
I don't want to hold you up. I know we've got more to share here. So,
Yeah, no, it's okay. I think for me, as you said, it's really a way to open up to your imagination, to have the personas, as you said, and to try to imagine for each of the personas in your community, the main ones, as you said, how you can navigate them through your story and what are the benefits of your community that they can benefit from. And it's all about the change, and storytelling is really all about change. So this is where you can, let's say, okay, what are the benefits that I'm bringing to the table so that I can add value to people within my community.